running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. Hope everyone's having a great day. Grimes, I am leaving you my email in the chat. Please send me an email there and I will get you set up, my friend.
All right, guys, let's get right to it. Bitcoin, 89,000, man. What the heck, Howard?
There we go. Okay, so Steve, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good, man. Bitcoin, 89,000, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we talked about yesterday. I said it was going up to that spot. It's at key resistance right now. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I sold, as most of you know on the show, I bought around 72,700. I bought quite a bit of it. And I just dumped a whole bunch here at this handle here. Look, there's nothing wrong with taking profit. What the problem has been doing in the markets is is just so nervous. They can't seem to understand. You have to wait a little bit longer. Let some of this volatility play out. It's going to have to go. I keep hearing this, we're going to keep going lower. We're going to keep going lower. Look, the IMF just came out with their big economic forecast and now cutting global growth forecast from 3.3% to 2.8%. We're going to see a lot of that today, Howard, with the IMF. The World Bank, as you know, is meeting in D.C. So there's going to be a lot of these numbers coming out. We will do a breakdown. I'll make a big post on this on the social media side, my thoughts about this. But look, for me, this is why you're seeing gold pushing higher all morning, 34.34. It got to about 34.64. Another high on gold this morning. And as you see that continue to push, so no, I'm not a big fan of what's going on.
Gold actually broke 3,500, just so you know.
What's that?
Gold actually broke 3,500.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, it did. But I still think it's going to 4,000. I mean, I think we go a little higher here.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that. I think gold still seems to be the trade. Everybody for sure looking at that side. Earnings seem to be the major player today. You've got a ton of earnings on deck or already happening. It has got most of the biggest movers on the day. On the positive side, IVZ, Invesco with a nice move to the upside, 6.74%. GE Aerospace up 4.83%. Dahalmar up 4.48%. So some earnings are doing really well, leading people to the upside. Same thing, though, on the downside. Verizon, less than stellar earnings, has them down 4.8%. RTX down 6.44% this morning. Halliburton down 2.97%. So we've seen earnings. It depends on how you're doing and what your forward guidance is, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a couple of things going on here. The first thing I think is going on is, and I saw this morning, it doesn't seem, or it seems that these countries are fighting back a bit. And when you look at the earnings of these companies, they just can't give anybody a good guidance number because they really don't know what's going on. And the news this morning was very interesting from the Japanese side, right? They just said this morning that the problem with this administration is that they are literally changing the goalposts every 5 minutes. And that seems to be an issue right now. So when you're hearing that now from the other countries saying that, look, they're now asking us what we want, right? Come on, it's like, get this done. If we don't, and you heard from Steve Flanagan yesterday saying, if we don't see some good news, then yeah, he just wants to see one little bit of good news, right? I mean, I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, no good news out of there. I don't think we're going to see it for a while. Personally, that's my view is that this administration isn't going to pull back. It isn't going to do anything until the bonds start make a move again. Eventually we'll see the bond sales will move too far up, and then they'll have to do something. But yeah, we're stuck in that rut without a doubt. With that being said, what smart CEOs are doing, and what we saw out of GE, is where they reaffirmed their fiscal year guidance, but talked about the 500 million in tariff headwinds they could face if they do it. So they're giving like a best case scenario and a worst case scenario, which we really hadn't seen that as the way that they were doing it. It's not normally what you see in earnings reports, but it seems like more data is better than less data, because the people who sort of aren't giving much forward guidance are getting drilled. And, again, one of the better performers, GE Aerospace, by, sort of laying it out, hey, if tariffs, are only over the next couple of months, this is what's going to happen. But if tariffs are long term, this is what the outlook is, and has them moving in the right direction. So I think transparency is a key to the market right now.
Yeah, I mean, the dollar is pushing back up, 98.60. I think a lot of it, look, I just saw that in the Wall Street Journal, and I'll have to read it out. The Dow is headed for the worst April since the Great Depression. I mean, to me, that is just amazing. That is impressive, Mr. President. The worst April in almost 100 years. I mean, that is, I don't even know how you can do that. I mean, if you think about it, that's really hard to do. And the first line out of the Wall Street Journal, I think I'll just post it here so everybody can understand what this all comes to the Wall Street Journal, so it's probably just easier for me to put it in the banner here for everybody to see it. There you go. It's since 1932. That's a no confidence signal that few think the administration's negotiations with trade partners will yield results soon enough to ease the strain. And I think you just said that yourself a few minutes ago, right? I don't think you're going to see anything until you see the bond market. What's interesting? I was reading Lisa Abramovitz from Bloomberg this morning saying that two things are going on in the bond market, right? That foreign investors have moved pretty much out of it. There's not much left of the foreign investors. They're slowing that down of the sales, but still selling. That there can be some really good out of that, or some really bad out of that. First thing is, yeah, foreign investors don't believe us, so they're dumping our dollars. So here's how that works. So when they sell their investment in us, right, the treasuries, when they sell they're buying our debt, they've sold our debt, right? When they sell their debt, they put it into US dollars. So the US dollars should be going up. The dollar market would be bigger. Why? They're not. They're taking the dollars and they're pulling them out too, right? And putting them back into their own currency. And that's a double whammy. So that was what the premise of that context was. And that's not good. So you're getting double whammied here, and that's why you're seeing all of the craziness going on in the gold market. Because I think a lot of this is going in straight into gold. I mean, they're just taking the dollars and putting it into gold. So, look, I don't think the gold market's going to go down. I've not seen a single gold commercial.
And like you said, that's the smart move. Every currency basically is losing value, so why not put it into gold while I wait this out and see what's going to happen? If I put it into my Japanese yen and that falls versus the euro, or it might gain versus the DXY versus the US dollar, but it's not moving all of the baskets. So why take that chance and already be set there? Lucky Chuck, you ready for the crypto pump this week? Nice. Love to see it. Love to see it. Alts are really moving today for sure. Alts were moving the most this morning, and definitely money moving into the crypto markets overnight. Mixed bag across all the different, countries. The Hang Seng was up a little bit last night. So was the Nikkei. So should see a little bit of strength there in the U.S. Europe's markets a little bit weaker last night. So, those are the things I'm sort of looking at. As you said, DXY has moved back up a little bit, not significantly, still below 99, keeps me in trouble. And oil continuing to slide down, decreased another 2.5% yesterday, back down to $62.37 for WTI, 66.26 on the Brent. What I noticed was the DXY is now down 9% year to date, 6% in April. The US dollar. So
yeah, I'm reading right now that silver is pulling back here on straight up, just taking profit here. Totally understand that, but boom, right back up. Look at that. I mean, that volatility in the silver market is not normal. You know when that's normal? Depression time. When people are moving money around. That's the word, big D word has been thrown around more than I've ever seen in my history of trading. I've never seen the word depression being thrown around this much. I know that a lot of politicians are saying, "Oh no, not the R word, not the R word." I think we're not that far away. I think we're not that far away. I mean, if we're not in it already, I think we're very close.
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying that here for months. I mean, nothing's changed overnight for sure in the markets, or in geopolitically that makes me feel any better today than it did yesterday. It shows you just the difference. The market wants to buy stuff because today everything is up. And again, everything is up. So this is those days that I get very nervous as the cash market opens because we see stocks up, we see all the commodities up, we see all the currencies up. Everything is moving up at once. To me, that smells like a bull trap being set. So I am going to be very cautious today watching stuff, especially when it comes to stocks. Now, we've also been beaten up a lot, so maybe it is a mean reversion. But what I would point out is we've already done a half mean reversion of yesterday's losses today to the upside. So that's why I'm also a little nervous. It has been a little bit less, wasn't so frothy to the upside that I would maybe think that this could be one of those great 2.5–3% up days. I just think this looks too much like a bull trap to me today.
Well, I mean, that we have been protecting ourselves, right? I mean, the VIX, the VXX now, look at that 73.15. So it's not showing me that yet. The volatility is definitely there.
There's no volatility because everybody's buying, no one's selling. So as soon as stuff starts to sell, that's when
I will say this much, Howard, that I was reading yesterday that the first time in over 18 months that corporate insiders are buying their own stock again for the first time.
I've seen that decent amount. Yeah, have seen a decent amount of those things. Makes sense that they do that.
Yeah.
They think it's a value. I've been talking to certain stocks I feel are values at the levels they're at. So do some of the insiders. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. Again, our problems are coming out of the White House. They're not out of the markets. Earnings reports are good. If I just start going through, I have all the earnings reports that came out today. And in general, even RTX up 5% increase year over year, 8% organic growth, excluding divestitures.
Right.
Verizon revenue 1.5 increase, again, an increase year over year. Calyx isn't a big enough company to talk about. 3M revenue above estimates, only down 1%. And they've been one of the ones that struggle the most, right? Hit the hardest by tariffs so far. Lockheed Martin up 4% increase year over year in revenue and earnings. So, people, that's what I mean is earnings are pretty good. I mean, the things I'm seeing, companies, you can start to pick and choose winners versus losers here based on what you see on earnings. Verizon, $33.5 billion in revenue, a 1.5% increase. It aligned right with expectations. EPS was up $1.19 from $1.15. So that moved in the right direction. Their net income, $4.8 billion or $1.15 a share, was a beat. Wireless service revenue was a 2.7% increase year over year. They did lose 289,000 retail postpaid phone subscribers. So that was a little bit worse. But their free cash flow is $3.6 billion, up from $2.7 billion a year ago. And they're expecting an adjusted EPS growth of 1% to 3%. That's nothing wrong with those earnings. You want to keep an eye on what they're saying. Eventually these tariff stuff will go away and you'll be wanting to own some of these stocks. So, I'm making sure that I'm keeping notes on all of these earnings that are coming out. Which ones did I like, which ones did I not like, so that when it becomes time when I think things are starting to move, I know. Or like I said, if I want to own, something, like right today seems to be a defense, day. You like RTX, Halliburton, some of these ones that you think, we're going to need in the future, they're down today. They're not down for really any good reason, except for they were up yesterday and they're down today. So this is where I'm starting to look for those type of moves. And like I know you said you were selling some Bitcoin because now it's up compared to everything else. It's no longer a value, in my opinion, versus some of these other baskets that are out there. So I can't argue, although I will say it broke the key resistance at 89. So now you have a real shot to break up to 92, 214 or so here pretty quickly. So I would say tough data to make that move yet. So I'd want to see, because we've broken all that key resistance that is.
Well, I always tell myself I want to be the ticker taker, right? And here I am at 77,200. If you're watching the show, look, we nailed that. And okay, I'm not trying to time this market.
That's the part. Right? Yeah, absolutely. One bad tweet, it could go. I do think that we're going to see crypto run here today, though.
90,000 is right around the corner. And look, I only sold a little bit here. I didn't sell. I only sold the stuff that I bought. Right? I mean, that's still long. I'm not. My thesis hasn't changed here. We're going to a million, but a quarter million soon, maybe. I mean, heard this, but this pump here usually gets sold, right? And I want to be there when we're already seeing a little bit coming down. But I want to see the next level of this, right? I mean, I want to see we know that 108,000 is pretty much the top of Bitcoin where it went to, and I think we break that. But how do we do that? When do we do that? I don't want to be a market timer. I think that's dumb. But I do find that levels, and for those of you who don't understand, I don't mean like pearl clutching your charts, as I've been saying, because I believe in charts at 100%, and I think we saw that with 77 too. I thought that was a really good buy. I'm still kicking myself that I didn't buy more. It usually happens, right? But I don't want to time this market. I like this sell I made, and put that money away and look for other plays. If Bitcoin comes back down, I've got cash again. So you never want to be in a situation where you don't have, like, that's one of my rules. You got to have powder, right? So always want to have powder.
Absolutely. Tick is positive about 118. Advanced declines to the positive around 2,700 here. So that's a really nice start. Usually means we'll end up about plus 4,000 when the cash markets open here. Q's set to open up 1.22% in the green. SPY about 1.09% so far. All the Mag 7 in the green so far. Again, that's sort of one of my red flags here this morning, is that they're all moving up together. Although outside of Netflix, they all lost yesterday. Man, Netflix looking to try to break above that 1,000 already. I mentioned that one, as back here when it was in the 850 range, and said, man, I don't know why you wouldn't think it's a value at that point. So.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about NVIDIA for a while. NVIDIA they're absolutely just getting slaughtered. It's silly. It's just based on Huawei and no, man, they're literally making the chips that are changing the world. I think it's kind of silly right now for that. So look, NVIDIA is still going to go up. It's not loved by Wall Street. Okay, whatever. They beat the heck out of it. We were buying it when it was really beaten up. Now it's just been completely destroyed, right? This is getting to the point where capitulation is starting to really pick up in NVIDIA. Look, these are the kind of stuff we're talking about. Look, Disney, summer's about to hit. It's $84 a share. I don't really understand that. One that I continue to look at, and it's Eli Lilly, LLY. I've been saying this for a while, that Eli Lilly is looking good, and it's even looking better now that they're getting very close on the weight loss pill. That's now saying three things. It's good for your weight loss. It's good for sugar, bringing your sugar down for your diabetes. And now they're saying dementia. Like, it's actually going to be good for dementia. Like, these are things that we need to look for. And the way that I do it is I look for, and if you can use our Quasar Markets AI, which is inside the system, for R&D budgets, right? I look at R&D budgets of these massive companies and seeing how much they're spending. And I'm finding that there is a correlation. If they're spending huge amounts of money in R&D, that 6 months to a year later, that stock's way up because they released something that they built. Just look at Apple, these companies, Apple or Microsoft, right, or Google. When the R&D budget gets pushed up in a certain area, and in Apple's case, I'm looking at the phone budget because I'm interested in maybe possibly an Apple phone here in September. We'll see how that goes. I was just looking at the numbers for Samsung versus Apple around the world, and of course, Apple's getting obliterated by Samsung when you look at international companies. But one thing that I want, when you look at it from that perspective, The biotech stocks right now, if I took a list of biotech stocks and said, okay, show me your R&D budget. What are you trying to fix? How much is this being spent on R&D? And I think you're going to find some very interesting plays out there. And I said this about 3 months ago. Look at Eli Lilly. Look at if they get this pill form that people don't want to take shots. So there's a lot of people that are against getting shot, and they're going to take a pill every day. And all of a sudden, they're going to be like, weigh 100 pounds and running around the country, right? So you know what? I like this Eli Lilly move down here. And we talked about it. We talked about it several times. FedEx, look at FedEx today. It's up a bit. So, the themes and theses that we're trying to create are actually working. When we said Bitcoin is 77.2, we weren't kidding, right? That was where I was like, wow, capitulation really has happened in Bitcoin here. I like this. I'm taking the profit. And again, this morning, I didn't beat the table. I didn't say, hey, look, want to be the ticker taker, right? Okay, look, the market popped up. We've run. I didn't just take it off the next day in Bitcoin when it did go up from 77.2 to 78.3. I took it off at 89,400, right? That's where I took it off at. And so that's what I mean by it's not just about taking the money, running it and trading every day. This is not a volatility market to be playing in unless you're a professional trader. And if some of us that have been doing this for a long time, 34 years, I can tell you right now that this is not the market to be trading volatility in. In fact, it's every day up and down. You don't know which day. Now, volume, if you're playing a daily market, yeah, it's great. It's different, okay? But if you're looking to make bigger money, it's not about trading day to day. Because if you do that, you're going to get absolutely walled up in this market. You may make much money today. You're going to lose it the next day, or vice versa, right? And the reverses here are very strong because you're fighting against, as Howard tells you in the mornings, is that when the market opens, you're fighting against the algos, right? You're fighting against the machines, and I can't fight against the machine. I'm going to fight against the market in general and in general direction. So yeah.
We are about 8 minutes from the open here. Again, not much going on. Q's staying pretty flat here over the last hour or so in this 438 area, 438.50 area since about a little before 9 o'clock. So about a half hour of pretty much everyone just sort of waiting here. But it looks like we have a nice green open, SPY up 1.12%. Same thing, not much movement over the last hour or so. We've seen it sort of stop down. We'll see what we get here as the algos start to fight it out. So far, all of the Spider Select funds look to be opening up in the green. So again, that means we are looking at a broad spectrum to the upside. Now 2,800 on the green on advanced decline. So definitely still moving to the upside there. And again, everything looking really nice as we get ready to open here soon. Not a ton of laggards to talk about when I look at my general stuff. JD down a little bit, Chinese names. Smucker's actually down a little bit today. That's about it. Again, as I look at what I look at on pretty much a daily basis, most of them are to the upside. Biggest gainers. One we got to talk about First Solar. Nice move up today, not on earnings, but on news that monies that were part of the Green Energy Fund have been released to First Solar. So they're up about 7.65% here this morning on that news. I believe I had that. Here we go. There it is. That is surged after the U.S. Department of Commerce finalized their stricter than expected tariffs on solar panels from Southeast Asia, benefiting domestic manufacturers like First Solar. So First Solar up 7.68% on that news. Got a few others moving this morning. We got Invesco up about 7.22% so far this morning. Again, nice move up there. I did have some news, I believe, on their earnings here.
It seems that Bitcoin's holding steady here, Howard, instead of coming right back down, which I thought might happen.
Yeah.
That seems like institutional buying.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it's a retail buy yesterday because the ETFs had huge inflows, so you could see some weakness there. But in general,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, Michael Saylor did a big buy over the weekend we know about, and in general, yeah, it looks like stronger hand. And like you said, I don't think this is a U.S.-based thing. I think it's a worldwide. Again, for
Right.
those that are people like me, you might move your money into gold in times of worry, I move it into Bitcoin. So it's just a little bit different for different people, and that's what you're sort of seeing here sort of play out. I don't know what I did with my Invesco news here. I had why they were doing well from their earnings, but I don't have it in front of me right now. Sorry.
Advanced decline line now positive by 2,900. So that tells me we're going to have a pretty positive day this morning. Dixie trying to push back up 98.62. Yeah. Wow. Aluminum futures now, I'm reading that they are now below the or near the 8-month low here. So it's not just it's money coming out of building, right? Because if you're still seeing rates higher than aluminum, you know that's put into wow. China settles levies on the U.S. at 125% on aluminum.
Well, that's what I mean. Is it's just this isn't good. You know, neither one of these countries are going to back down. So this is just going to continue to play out, unfortunately.
Damn, that's a lot.
Just, yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, listen, we're in a tariff war. I mean, there's no other way to spin it. You know, we're in a tariff war. And
what do you think about when I'm reading a lot about how Trump is changing the narrative now and laying all the blame at Jerome Powell's feet?
I said that yesterday, right? I was one of the first to say it. That to me seemed like maybe it's his out. This didn't work because Jerome Powell didn't do what he was supposed to do. So I mean, I definitely could see that play out for sure.
And I think it's completely wrong. I mean, there's no doubt about that's wrong. It's not on Trump. I mean, it's not on Powell here. I mean,
no, he's behind. I mean, we all said that too, right? We've been saying that for 6 months also. So don't get me wrong. Every educator that we have on, I talked about it with Dr. Ellman yesterday. I talked with Agnieszka Wood. You know, everybody is in the same boat. You know, don't get me wrong. Powell is not is not correct in what they've done. The Fed using a backwards looking, data to try to make forward looking decisions just doesn't work. And the fact that, it took years to get coordination between countries to sort of have rates that made sense around the globe, right? And that's why we had a 3-year bull market, quite frankly, that was because rates were consistent and there wasn't that sort of just jostling that happens that we're seeing now in the uncertainties. As you know, Ireland's, again, we talked about that yesterday, their whole economy got based around having favorable corporate taxes and being a place where corporations went to do things. And now all of that sort of world order is all at risk, so it's definitely frightening for those people. We'll say financials looking really good today. I did see a couple of people, like Steve Leishman had a great interview late yesterday on CNBC, discussing everything with Leslie Lindsay, is that his name? But it was really good where he talked about the fact of, they put some of the blame on some of the leaders too. Why is Jamie Dimon and Brian Moynihan and these folks not stepping up and telling the president what he's doing is wrong? Why are they just sort of being silent in the background? And that it's, the job of some of these, financial CEOs to speak up. So what do you think about that? Is it the job of those people to say that and to speak up? And okay.
Yes, because that's what the Federal Reserve looks at, right? The Federal Reserve says, okay, they have a certain number of people, and I'm on one of those boards that would they send out to ask questions through questionnaires, and they have a list of business owners and banks that they pick the phone up and they call them and they say, look, how are things going on over there? Okay, great. Thanks for your answer, Mr. President. I just had a long chat with the Federal Reserve.
Everybody just want to bring it up. We are open. Tick is positive. Advanced decline jumped up right to 5,400. So let's see what it does from there, because that was
Yeah,
the open.
I think we'll pull back here, but 5,300.
438. Seeing a little bit of a pullback here on the Qs to start off with, but again, this is just let these algos fight it out here. Tick is nicely positive, 329, so we are holding up so far. Keep an eye on the Qs here. First move on the Qs is to the downside, back below 438. What I want to see is where VIX moves here this morning, 3170. So it's continuing to slide down. That could give us a lot of help here. If we can get the VIX back below that 30 level, I think we could really see, you could see that, move to the upside. Sell off here off the open, though. Q's down to up 1.15%, trying to move from that 438 level as support. SPY up 1.08% at 519.42 here. VWAP has held up on SPY so far, so these algos fighting it out have it to the upside. Bitcoin at 89,650, so right about where we've opened. Pretty much once we've hit that 89,500 area, it's been our key resistance so far. Gold has lost a little bit here, about $50 down from 3,500 to 3,440. So again, some profit taking. Not surprising that it's been a moonshot. People are going to take profit.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I don't
far,
blame
so good. So far, nice little open here to the upside. Love to see it. Nvidia up 1.4% so far. Apple a big winner, up almost 2% so far. Yeah. Netflix just broke. I said it's going to break 1,000 there. There you go, 1,018. That wasn't a hard one to call. And continues up another 3% today. So it's definitely Mag 7's bringing up everything so far. But with that being said, it's a broad market move to the upside at 5,400 on the advanced decline. So we have seen that hold up so far. So far, liking the way the market's holding up. Bitcoin back at 89.7 here. So it's back at that spot. It needs to break through. It needs to break through 89,850 to see a move to the upside, in my opinion. See what else is moving the most here so far. Nice move up by Carvana here, up 4.09%. So nice move up by Carvana. We'll point out again, that's one that I talked about at 188.77 here on the show, now at 203.
I want to see some good news in the chip market. I think that's where it's really been hit the most.
I'm not sure that there's much chip earnings this week, though.
There's not. No. 89.8 now on Bitcoin. We're about to hit 90,000 here on Bitcoin. Tesla's now pushing up too as well. Tesla now 2.3% of the day.
So our chips will be Texas Instruments, the next big one to report, it looks like. They report, I know that they were this week. They are the 23rd. So tomorrow we have Texas Instruments. While they aren't fancy, they are still the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, 6th largest chip manufacturer in the world. So, well, that excludes China. Advanced decline still flying here, up 5,500 here. So again, positivity definitely. Algos sold off quickly, but that's getting bought up right now. Moving right back up towards the highs of the days on the Q here, 122, 123 to the upside. So Q's, I said 438.50 is about where we opened, 438.25. We're back to, so we are moving back up. Bitcoin battling right at that 89,800 level. I said to keep an eye on here. We got to get above 89,850. A move there gives you definite move up towards about 92 in a pretty quick amount of time. There isn't much resistance in that zone and not a lot of sell orders. So if we see this move to the upside, it will be quick.
I mean, now remember that pops like this happen in down markets. So this
absolutely is what we're talking about. You get some of your best rallies, so this can continue for the full day. We saw it last week, right? We saw whatever day it was last week. We had a 2.5%, 3% move to the upside, broad market move to the upside before the next day we gave it all back. But that has been, what you can see. Bitcoin now at 89.9 here. So watch out for a move to the upside here. We'll start to see liquid. If it can break the 90, you'll see the liquidation start to happen to the upside. But that's the big key spot. It's got to break above that 89. Above that 90 for that to happen. It's trying. You can see it's getting hit right now at that spot. It's trying.
And the VIX really hasn't moved.
Free rejections at 88.9 right now. So this is where you want to really watch.
I think we go. I think we break past 90,000. I think we do it.
Oh yeah, I think, like I said, 92. Here we go, 89,898. We'll also mention, for those of you that are fans of XRP, they did get listed their futures on Coinbase Futures and the Nano XRP futures. So again, we've seen, as the rules change here in the U.S., more and more of the futures being offered directly in CFTC regulated markets here. So I love to see that. Love to be able to see it traded that way. And what I love about it is it gives us a way to hedge in the U.S. If you're an XRP holder, you can now, do options on the downside of it. 89.9. I can't get through it, Steve. That is the spot. It looks like 89.9 right now is where it
I mean, just the nervousness. People are nervous. They can't hold it. But I mean, they should have.
Staying positive, yeah. Staying positive. It's everything looking pretty good so far. 55, 25 on the advanced decline. Thing that keeps my ears up, though, is that VIX is just not following enough for me. It is down 6% yesterday, but it's at 31.52. I've made it clear I need to see that break below 30 to think that there's, an extended move to the upside that I want to be part of on my swing trades. Again, I love looking for value, especially today. Let's see what those laggards are doing here. So again, Northrop Grumman down 8.86%. Here this morning. That could be a value play you could start to look at. Let's take a look and see what their EPS looks like here. So their price to earnings is now down to 19, Steve, when it comes to Northern Grumman. Wow. These are companies that normally have, 30s or even 40s because of the amount of money they invest right into their things. Verizon down to another one, RTX. I mean, RTX is down 7.72% here. If we are, with all the conflict, if we're going to have conflict, we're going to need new fighter planes, right?
Always. I mean, I think that's part of the key, right? Is that in a lot of ways we need to be very careful that we don't get behind. Because I was listening to, the Chinese are really kicking it up right now in regards to building, bases and
Taiwan and all that. And what I'd point out is, so looking at a difference, and I don't tell people what to buy, but I'm just telling you what I look at quickly, and this is just very quickly, is RTX still trading at 36.29 on its price to earnings ratio, so versus Northrop Grumman. So that's step one when I would start to analyze from a fundamental level of which one am I going to try to get into if I want to add a defense stock. That would be sort of how I would look through it, start to look for price to earnings, start to look at dividends, start to look at what insiders own. And as Steve mentioned, what have they purchased lately? I do think that that's a great one to keep an eye on, because if, an insider buys, they know what's going on in that company. They know it's a value or not, right? Berkshire Hathaway, it's always for me been one of those signs. When he's buying his own stocks and buybacks, that means he thinks that his stock is a value, right?
100%. He doesn't like buying his own stock. He doesn't like buying back. Yeah.
But that's the way. Look at Netflix just running here, 4.57% up on the day, over 1,032. Wow, what a move to the upside. Seen a little bit of weakness here come across NVIDIA. It's stalling out at that 98 level here, still moving back to the downside. But tick almost at 5,600 here, Steve. So we're still seeing strength across the board. Dow Jones up 1.26% here this morning. SPY up 1.13. We see the Qs up 1.23. Nice little jump to the upside right there on the Qs.
There we go, 89.8.
I will point out, I said that I liked the rut yesterday was getting beat down and a little bit more than everything else, up the highest here, 1.59%. Bitcoin unable to get to that 90,000 here. It just can't do it.
89.9 now. 89.9.
It's battling the same spot. Like I said, right now it's that same spot it's battling at, and that gets nervous after a while. But
89.955, 68.
On the liquidations.
60. Get back up there.
Let's go. If it breaks 90, you're gonna see it fly. And it's gonna.
Oh, there you go. The high of the session here.
Yeah, it's at
982. Come on, Bitcoin. I mean, I think this is what we're talking about, right? That the money is flowing into, look at the dollar, 98.63. 90, there it is, 993. Oh, brought the 993. Look at that. 98, 89, 993. There were some sellers up there. They don't want that thing to go to they don't want to go to 90,000, I don't think.
No, they're trying to keep it down. They're trying to keep it because if it does, it's going to 92,600 range pretty quickly is where it's going to go if it breaks through this resistance.
I don't think they have a choice today. I think we're going to break it.
Yeah, well, what could really set it off is if ETFs start to see a run. If IBIT starts to see a run here this morning, that's what's going to take it over the top because you can't keep up with those ETFs.
989 again. We're almost back to high. There it is. They're going 81 again. There it is, 90,000, and there's some sellers. There is a wall there at 90,000. But I think
there always is round numbers, collect that type of thing. But
90,000 is about to be broken. Here we go.
And what I'd point out is this is what you want to see. You got to beat it down. You got to beat it down and beat it down, and then eventually you break through.
That. Oh, there we go, right through.
There you go, 90,000. You just broke it. Now we got to hold above that 90, and we're going straight to
90,100. You were right. There we go. 90,200. Boom.
Yeah. Liquidation should start to come in, but what you'll start to see now, unfortunately, Steve, is knowing the sort of psychology of the market. Especially the crypto market, is now you get the wannabes jumping in at 100x leverage to the north side because they think we're going straight to 95.
Get rid of 100x leverage. I hate that.
Yeah, no, I know. I hate it, but that's what tends to happen. I think you're still going to see it go up to 92 today before we see that blow off, but that's what will start to happen over this next $1,000 to the upside. I will mention I was looking last night because, as you know, I am doing more and more with IBIT. And for every 1% that IBIT moves right now, and it tracks the Bitcoin pretty much to the dollar, it's causing about a 23% move in its options, its closest out of the money options. So really one of the best gamma plays out there right now. I was doing a little research with ChatGPT, comparing it to some of the high-flying stocks. And right now, your best bang for the buck, if you're one of those naked call and put buyers that are scalping, is quite honestly IBIT. It was IBIT and MSTR were the two that came back with the best gamma for that. They can give you a gamma squeeze. Holding up above 90 here. I love it, Steve. 90,000, 100, holding strong. Q's high of the day too. So we are so far seeing everything move to the upside nicely. We'll say, hey, I know Brimes, no, it wasn't Brimes yesterday. It was someone from Israel that was asking yesterday about VRT. They just had a nice beat on earnings moving up. So you and I called that one wrong. They made a nice move to the upside here. VRT, I know that, I forget, unfortunately, the name of the viewer yesterday that asked about it, but nice little move to the upside on their earnings here, up 5% today. So nice little move. Nice call.
Yeah, it's a nice little move.
Our viewers.
But I still don't agree with it. I mean, I still think that there are things that it just doesn't fit me out.
Dow Jones now up over 1.5% here. So again, we continue to move to the upside here. Bitcoin at 90,200 here. So continuing to run. Ethereum, nice little move up 4.23%. Like I said, I've got my screen of alts that I'm keeping up now again as I'm watching the markets a lot closer. Nice move up by Dogecoin today. One of Steve's favorites there, up about 4.5%. Pepe up 7.49% here today. The one that I've been watching over the last few days is FET, Fetch AI, one of the AI coins that had been really beaten up about 25% this week. Nice little move, trading at about 61 cents. I liked it a little bit better down here in this 55-cent area, but if it can break above and hold above 61.50 here, and again, that's 61 cents, you got nice upside on Fetch AI. Nice move by Solana too. Again, Solana I talked about just a week ago when it was trading down below 130 here, now at 143. So nice move up here in general
We're
by
pushing higher now.
moving
Here.
up. I will say Ethereum still has me the most scared because it can't break this resistance at 1700 when everything else is moving more to the upside. So that one's got me a little bit more worried here so far. Bitcoin 9250 here, Steve. 9260.
$90,300. Kaboom.
Yep. Nice move to the upside. Mag 7 all continuing to move up. Netflix 1040. Again, I just can't point out enough that, you know, we brought that up on the show. Me personally, even, you know, Steve's been on Netflix for a year, but a month ago when it was back down at, I believe, 880, if I'm not mistaken. Why am I doing this without changing my screen? There we go. I believe it was at that when I made that call the other day, about a week ago. Yeah, it was at 850, 886. I made that call at, Steve. I do mark them here, so we have them. 886. I said I liked the value at Netflix. It's now at 1042. Everybody continuing to move to the upside here. Bitcoin 9450, Steve. 9450. No, I do see that our man Jeremy Vreeland is giving the same target that I gave you, 92K. So.
Wow, this is total chaos in the Bitcoin market.
I love it. I love it. I called it. Lucky charts. I'm with you. You know, I'd say that about Ethereum. You know, and I've always been a big fan of Ethereum. Quite honestly, I've called it the Apple of crypto. It is where everything else builds on. But Ethereum is broken right now. Just so if you don't know, Ethereum's model right now with the layer 2s is not working for Ethereum. The layer 2s are gaining all of the money, from, you know, the transactions. The layer 2s are getting the benefit and not the layer 1. So there needs to be something done with the scaling. I know we have a few upgrades in the works. Vitalik came out yesterday or the day before. He's talking about changing the entire programming language based around Ethereum to RISC. So Ethereum has me a little worried. I've been out of Ethereum for a while, quite honestly. And it was always my second largest holding in crypto. And
I have now converted more Bitcoin now into USDC. I've taken more profit off here. I think this is a nice run.
Absolutely. I can't argue there. You know, I have a sell in myself.
Everybody thinks we're going to 92,000. Then
above us. Yeah, mine's still above us slightly, but on my buy last buy, you know, I did buy twice, not once. Because I got 77, and then again when it broke below 80 the second time. But I am not there yet. I have my 90, just below 92 is my sell level.
If everybody thinks 92,000 is the answer, it's probably not going to be, Howard. I mean,
that's why I'm a little below it, Steve. And I don't care what everybody else says. I care what.
And I like this sell here up here. I like this conversion here up here. I'm not getting out of the crypto market. Everybody knows that. I don't do that. It's money flows right back in. But I needed to take some off. A lot of that money is at 77 too. This is a run. I mean, this is a nice run on a nice day here. We've been waiting on these kind of days, and like I say, I want to be the ticker taker. I don't want to be the person that's chasing. I don't like chasing. And there you go.
Yep, absolutely. Tick still staying positive, 5,800 on advanced decline. So we are running. It's going to take bad news out of the White House here to get us to move to the downside, in my opinion. As long as he can keep his mouth shut today, we should be good. And VIX now down below 31. So we're getting closer to my level there, you know, where I feel you can get a definite blow off top if we see that. We get below 30. Watch for a blow off top across all the markets here. Gold's starting to move back up from that 3,400 level now. So we seem to have bottomed out on the commodities there.
I think I just now have my biggest USDC cash pile I think I've had in an extremely long time.
Nice. I
like this move here. I like it a lot, actually.
Webull up 17% here. So they did have earnings, I think, this week. Was it today? No, it can't be that news to a new listing. No. But Webull up 17.18%. A lot of the new names up. Clean Spark up 13.25%. That's another fairly new listing. First Solar that I talked about earlier up 12.85%. Nice move up by Equifax today, Steve. 10.7.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to start looking at as the rates come down, right? Maybe now listen, the one thing that I kept looking at, and I've seen this a lot, unfortunately, is the number of bankruptcies are really high right now. So, you know, I think that's going to push the Fed also to lower rates too as well. We can't see that. That's got to slow down. But yeah.
And guys and gals, when we tell you that you see rip your face off moves to the upside during bear markets, just look at the chart in front of you here. I'm going to try to get this as big as I can for you here and take us off the screen for a second. So if you look here, Webull up 14.55%, Clean Spark 13.39, First Solar 13.21, Equifax 10.52, Invesco 9.75. There is literally 30, 40 stocks that are up over 5% today, and they're from all the different sectors. You have Webull and Invesco, and there was one more in this one that was trading houses. You have Clean Spark, which is a data center / Bitcoin mining company. All the Bitcoin names, Riot, Mara, all through the roof today. Again, Mara, I talked about last week when it was trading down at 11 here, that I liked it. And here you go. It broke through the level here that I had targeted for a run up to 1322, sort of where it's stalling out. But again, this is the mark that we looked at. We are seeing the market just move to the upside here across the board. Yeah, Lucky Charts, maybe liquidation levels, the ETH at 1700, definitely. There is a lot of downside pressure, a lot of institutions betting against Ethereum right now, so do keep that in mind. Again, though, that gives you tremendous upside if we can see some liquidation start here. Again, as we look through, Bitcoin back up to 90,388 here, so trying to move back to the upside again. Ethereum stuck at 1647. Solana 143.28. Solana, for me, if it can break 148, 150, you break 150, you've got a big run up here to 175 on Solana. So this is one.
I think there's some profit taking here in the crypto market here in a second here if you're not careful. Be very careful.
Yeah, you'll definitely see some profit taking without a doubt. Here, that's why I'm looking at the daily charts and not the shorter range on some of these. MSTR up to 337 again here, 6% move to the upside here. Nice move for crypto across the board. Chip sector looking great too. Marvell up 3.8% here this morning.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to see the chip sector kind of get some reprieve here, but be careful out there, folks. I know there's quite a few of you today. I see the numbers coming in. Look, this is when you get to be the ticker taker.
FSLR now up 12.28%. Invesco 9.71. So our good earnings reports has people good news, hasn't moved to the upside. On the downside of that, Northrop Grumman down 12.33%. RTX down 8.85, Halliburton down 8.17. If you're looking for any of those defensive names, today could be a day for a long-term look towards the upside there.
Almost 5,700 advanced decline. Yeah, dollar's starting to slip here a bit. Money's coming out of the Dixie now. Again, be very careful out there.
Yep, keep your eye on that VIX for sure. 3130 here. That's pretty much lows of the day. So it is still staying down lower. It got below 31. So that seems to be the spot it's fighting right now. Does look like everything's cooling off here. Tick has gone slightly negative. Algos are sort of done fighting it out here. So keep in mind, volume is probably going to drop off.
This is it right here. I think this is
only
coming in.
You can see Q's struggling to move back up now. So that 440 level.
There we go. 90,100 now. Another little. If we get below 90,000, there could be a serious sell-off here in Bitcoin. Yeah, 90,000, 130. Yeah, had a feeling that was it.
Steve, you said it 3 times, and it proved you wrong 3 times.
It probably will, but hey, listen, I got some good sales here. I'm pretty happy.
I gotta laugh.
I'm a happy camper today.
Absolutely. So I'm thrilled. Ticky is going down, mile down about 264. So we are seeing the sell-off here across the board. Be wary, as Steve talked about. The advanced decline got up to 58, almost 59.
And we're about to blow through 90,000.
So keep an eye on everything here, everybody. We are running out of steam quickly, and it doesn't take much for bad news to move us back to the downside across the board.
Yeah, there goes the sellers. Here they come. Boom, 90,000 just got blown through. There goes 90,008. Yeah, 90,000 just got wiped away again. There it is. I had a feeling that was what was happening, and look, it may go back up, but I had a feeling that was where it was at, and yeah. 90,000 might become the support, but I don't think so. I think we. Those of you listening in, 90,500. Man, that was a nice little sell in there.
And back above 90 again. So we'll see that in an hour if it was a good sell or not. So far, you've been wrong 3 times today. We'll see if that continues through the rest of the day, my friend.
I've been right since 77,200. So I think the push to 92,000, I think it seems to be seeped into the market here. And I think, yeah, I see this market pulling back kind of heavy here. But so far,
it definitely can. It definitely can. It's going to be a long day in crypto. We go 24/7, not like these babies that stop at 4 o'clock. Ripple at 212. Love to see that. Nice move up here by Ripple today too. Nice move. Take holding up though so far. Set back to the upside a little bit. Advanced decline staying above 55.75. So far, very nice. A firm up 3.47%. Nice move to the upside here today. Coinbase up 5.7%. Real nice move to the upside. Talked about Carvana earlier. Now up 9.51%. 214. Wow.
All right. It's a little pop here now in Bitcoin.
Delta Airlines up 1.06% today. So again, it's broad market. We're not seeing anything really turn. We're seeing slowdowns, not really seeing a turn yet. Microsoft, the biggest laggard on the Mag 7 so far, only up 0.5 percentage point. Everything else is up at least 1 point. NVIDIA now 1054. Can't stop, won't stop. Wow, look at that, Steve. Up 6.78% and moon in here. You got a little bit of a gamma squeeze, it looks like, happening there. It's all-time high, I believe, 1064. Looks like it wants to head there today. Nice move there. Netflix is definitely dragging the market up with it. Bitcoin back at 90,200. So far, trying to turn that into support. We'll see if it can do that on a full day term, though. That doesn't happen in a matter of minutes or hours. We need to see it hold for a day or two to think that now becomes, as Steve said, support as opposed to resistance. I don't know if we're there yet. I personally think we will revisit 85 before we visit 95. Delta continuing to move to the upside here, now 1.22% up on the day. Steve, what do you think? Google holding up really well considering what the courts had to say yesterday, right? They are seeking the company to sell the Chrome browser. I was reading about that last night.
That's done. I mean, it's a matter of time now before the browser. Yeah, they're going to be divesting some stuff. I mean, this administration, the previous administration, has not been good to Google. And I think you're absolutely right. I think we're going to see some interesting situation here with Google.
Yeah, they have earnings tomorrow, I believe, or no, they have it. Their earnings are Thursday.
Oh, there you go. Look at that pop on Bitcoin. Hey. You might be right here, Howard. We might test it up there the normal side.
Yeah, like I said, it's a long day, and it's 24 hours in a day.
It's true.
You know, unfortunately, when it comes to crypto, sometimes that is the problem. It doesn't stop trading. Pretty soon, all the markets are going to follow, as we know. So that's what we're seeing. But so far, holding up. I do think, you know, I think there's some positivity, and I think there's been just too much talk. And now it's, you know, it broke through it, you know, I mean, and keep in mind, it took a lot to get through this resistance here that you had at 85. I mean, it took, you know, this is an hourly chart, but here's the daily chart. I mean, it took us 10 days to break through that resistance. So,
yeah,
you know, we had a lot of pent up, you know, when you break through something that holds that long, you usually see explosive, but you know, do I think we come back down? What I want to see is our new trading range to start here. So what I'm looking at personally is, and you guys know how I had done this before. So now I'm sort of looking that, you know, on any kind of retracement to this 83 that we saw held up so well over the last week or so is a buying opportunity, and you're selling off as you approach 92. And it might be.
You think we test 83 again?
I think, yeah. I do. I mean, yeah, because there'll be bad news, unfortunately. You know what I mean? You know, I think a tweet will take us there. You know, I do think we see it both ways. You know, it would take, 90 just doesn't have, 90 isn't a support level yet. It hasn't been ever. You know what I mean? In other words, the only time that you ever really battled 90 and it held up for a little bit, and then we saw a positive move was right here, this 5-day period back in November. So, you know, 90 has been a spot that we haven't spent a lot of time at. So that's part of the reason here. I think we got to get some price action in this area. What happened nicely is we developed that price action and we didn't have build up between 80 and 90 here. What you got to remember is we made this move back in November from, you know, 70 to 105 very quickly, and especially to the 100, you know, level. So, you know, we need some price action to come, but do I think that we're going to hit 92? I do. Do I think we're going to retrace back towards 85? I do. I'd be more, you know, me, I like 200-day MAs. I know they don't matter as much to you, but I'd be looking, I'll have my order set at probably this 8,400 level once I make a sell of my last swing trade.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be where I'll look to have my wish list to pick it up again. Because inevitably we will get some bad news. Someone will make a false story.
Oh, you know, Christine Lagarde's about to be on CNBC, so get ready for that, you know.
Well, she doesn't affect crypto, luckily. Because Mike has they've done their damage. They can't hurt it any more than they already did. They've overregulated it to death, and that's why there is no crypto innovation in Europe right now.
Right. Agreed.
Either all in Asia or it's moved back here. Yeah, there's so little that happens. It's funny because there's so much that actually happens in Switzerland when it comes to the use of blockchain technology and distributed ledger. When it comes to moving, the banks are all involved with it there, and their markets, they do bond sales through blockchain, you know, and all that stuff.
The banks are. So,
they're all about it, but you know, the EU is against it. You know, but Switzerland's like, hey, we're going to do our thing. We don't care. We're going to be an innovator. Yeah. Well, they realize if banking is your number one industry and basically your only industry outside of chocolate, then you got to make sure you're always at the forefront of it. And they've always, some of the first tests with Ripple were done in banks out of Switzerland, you know, over to Hong Kong. And that's what we see. So, Steve, we've got a little long here today. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're a busy man here. What do you think? Can we continue to see this move up? We're now up almost 2% on the Qs here. I'm impressed by what we're seeing here in the move up. You know,
there is a stock that I am interested in here, and that's Northrop Grumman. I have been keeping my eye on it quite heavily over the last few days. I know that they updated their guidance. I get all of that. I know that they're worried about it. That's ticker NOC. If you look at it from if you want to grip your charts and you want to clutch them, great. This is a good time to do it. I think if you look at their charts on a daily basis,
I got
I like it down here. This sell-off is really interesting to me. Northrop Grumman, just not too long ago was over $550 a share. Now it's at 460, right? So yeah, can it keep going down? Probably. But that linear regression, the daily chart, is really a good place. And it usually bounces right back on any negativity because Northrop Grumman makes those planes, makes those. Makes a lot of things.
As you know, that's why I brought it up. I think, and again, I brought up what this has done to its EPS. Now down, so far, everything here says this is a buy to me for a longer term play. Personally, does it have downside to 420? Yeah, it hit it, just back in February, but more likely it's got to move back to the upside again. When it dropped down to that level, I'll point out that while it hit 420, it came back in less than a week to the level it's at right now. So that's what, sort of I think Steve's looking at. I agree. That's what I said. I like these ones on my laggard list. I like that. I like RTX here on my laggard list.
I mean, they did say that the problems is inflationary, right? And the B-21 bombers is a problem. But I don't see that being a long-term negative, right? I think, I do like Northrop Grumman here, actually.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I said, I think all three of these ones that people should have an eye on today. If you don't have anything in the defensive sector, and I mean defensive as in government defensive, Department of Defense, you've got three of the largest out there. Northrop Grumman down 12.42%, RTX down at 9.28%, and Halliburton down 8.87%. Do some research, look through their financials, get on Quasar Markets. Look through all the fundamentals, look through the technicals, because if I look at it from a technical, I'm saying, wow, this is a pretty good spot here too, where it's at right now on Halliburton. Look at how this was the key resistance that it faced a lot. It's had a lot of battles in this spot. And in general, it spent the last 2 years above it, a nice move back up. And again, these charts are all looking, while on a short term don't look great. What I do love about Northrop is that it's got an upward facing linear regression, as you mentioned, also, which shows a little bit of strength over the last 20 sessions. Has it, shown that it's got some strength to it? I agree. I love that play right there. Love it.
All right, cowards.
Okay, Bitcoin back up at 90,160 here, Steve. So it does look like it is going to try to make 90,000 support, at least for now. Let's see if that can hold. If it does, I do think it's got a little bit more leeway here. I would be wary moving up towards that 92 level. I mean, for me personally, I will be very honest, at 91,250 is where I'm looking to take some profit there. So I will share that with you. That is about where I'm looking at. But I do think it's got a little bit more upside today. We'll see. I'm keeping an eye on VIX, like I said, back below 31. If this VIX gets below 30, I think we run hard like we did a week ago, where we saw a 3.5% move by the market, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked. Now, I also want to make that clear. I don't think that 3.5% move to the upside is sustainable. So take profit like Steve did on Bitcoin. Don't be afraid to take profit. Don't look back. There's no reason. Steve made a ton of money on that from 77 to 90,000. As my friend Mike Shua says, don't step in front of a steamroller to pick up a penny. And that's what Steve's talking about. Don't try to, if you're close to where you thought your take profit was, then take profit. Because these markets can change quickly one way or the other. I do think crypto, for some reason, just seems to have a lot of legs today, seems to have a lot of strength across, the alts, across everything. So I do think it is a crypto type of day. And money is flowing into it across all of the different areas. Again, all I got to do is look at Solana up 5%, Doge up 5.82%. And if you go down to even some of the smaller coins that I watch, like I said, they are moving to the upside. Love the move by Aave today. Total market cap back up above 2.77 trillion. You got to love it. We need to see DeFi pick up. It's about 70 billion right now. It was as high as, I want to say 156. Yeah, we got to get This is what we need to see is DeFi to build back up for Bitcoin and crypto to take its next step. Everybody, have a fantastic day. From those of you, Brian's, make sure you send me that email. Same thing, Market Shark. You owe me an email if you want to get that free subscription to Quasar Markets Live. I think tomorrow Steve and I will spend a lot more time on the Quasar platform with you guys, showing you how we could use it for some of the stuff we talked about today. So have a fantastic day, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow.